Alright guys, I just want to make a video about my rear power slider harness. I mean, it's not a super popular upgrade, but some people want to do it, and I just want to show you. It takes a little bit of work because you need to figure out what wiring your truck already has. So I have mine pulled apart to install this, but there's two connectors in the rear C-pillars that we need. If you were looking to add this, we need to take a look at. So this first connector here on the driver's side, right here, and this first wire here, right in the front corner, that's what we're looking for. That's provides power. Want to make sure we have that. So you know, I usually tell people just send me pictures of this connector so I can see all the wiring, see what you have, and then on the passenger side, show you, there's three wires. So there is, you can see here, these two wires here on the end. I think those like positions like 7 and 8, and then there's this little orange wire, orange and gray wire here. So the two on the end, the tan, that's like the polarity wires, so it's a positive and negative polarity, so open and close for the window. And then that orange one, all that is an illumination wire that just lets the switch that you would install in the overhead. It just illuminates it at nighttime when when your lights are on. That one's not a big deal. If you don't have that, I can make my harness. I'll show you. Add a little T-harness to it, and most of these have. I can just get a picture of it. Right there. There's usually a light in here. And you can actually see that's the light right here. I make a T-harness where you can just grab power from that light to illuminate the switch. So that's not a big deal. And then the other two wires also, most trucks are not going to have that. I had it from the factory for whatever reason. So you have your motor. The motor is here with this connector. So this tiny run of wiring on the back wall I had. And that's those two wires right there. If you don't have it, that's not a big deal. I can make you this run of wiring as well. It's just like an extra 25 bucks. But it's a pain in the ass to get to these connectors because you have to get the upper C-pillar trim off. And to get the upper C-pillar trim off, the lower C-pillar trim has to come off, because I'll show you here. So this is the upper. This is the upper piece, this is the lower piece. Well, the upper piece actually goes behind the lower piece, right? So you have to pull the lower piece to get to the upper piece. And to pull the lower piece, you gotta get your back seat out of the way, if you have a back seat. And to do that, right, so you have, this is like a T50 Torx bit, I wanna say. For your seat belt, that has to obviously come off so you can get the trim piece, because that goes through the upper trim piece. So it is a little bit of work to do that, and then obviously to actually install this, it's a good amount of work too, because you don't have to take the felt off the back here, but I took the seat out, I took the upper and lower seat pillar trim, I took the lower B pillar trim out, partially took the C pillar trim out. I have it so I could slide this down a little bit so I have some leeway with the headliner, because everything we're going to run it through the headliner. And then I'll show you over here. Let me grab the harness and I'll explain how that is run. All right, so obviously that's the window switch here. I have it installed already. This is the connector that plugs into the back of that. So we're gonna start here and we gotta run our wiring. So we have a ground wire. So this ground is just gonna go across, down the A-pillar, go down the side of the dash here, and then you see right there, there's a ground spot right there. That's where that's gonna ground to. So that's how that one is run. The power, as I explained, is in the C-pillar, so we got to run this all the way to the C-pillar. Then the other 3 wires, at least on my harness, because I have the illumination wire in the passenger side C-pillar, these 3 wires I have to run all the way to the C-pillar over there. So that's basically how this is going to get run. That's why I kind of have the headliner loose, so I can kind of move it out of the way and get my hand up underneath it and basically work this harness, you know, into position and then have everything pinned. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of show that. Like I said, it's a good amount of work, so you know it's not a super popular upgrade, but some people like to do it. So I had a solid back glass, and I've always had at least a slider. So this was one of the first things I did when I got my truck, was to swap this out. Any questions, just leave them down below in the comments. Thanks.